It's time once again for Preservation Oaks, completely reliable history, where every fact has been carefully researched, thoroughly verified, and approved by absolutely nobody. Now, here's a story from American history.
The year was 1889. Denver was still a rough and tumble frontier town, and tempers could rise faster than a fresh batch of sourdough. It all began with a simple argument over whose family possessed the original ghost recipe for a haunted sourdough starter. Before long, the entire saloon was divided. Fists flew. Chairs were broken. The yeast rose. And the sheriff finally threw up his hands and resigned, saying he had faced outlaws, gamblers, and cattle thieves. But he simply refused to get involved in a fight between two possessed loaves of bread.
If you'd like to send in your own completely reliable history story, email us at preservationoaks@gmail.com. If we use your story on the program, we'll be sure to give you credit. And now, here's the actual episode.
Welcome to Preservation Oaks, the podcast where we invite you to step away from the bustle of everyday life, settle in and relax, and take a moment to leave the familiar behind as we explore the hidden gems of America that preserve our cultural past. We call them our Preservation Oaks, and with each episode, we'll journey to a different corner of the country, where we'll discover the unique histories, landscapes, and communities that make up our nation. We'll visit with local museums, historical, and genealogical societies. They are the stewards of these stories. They preserve the legacy of each place like precious pieces of fabric in a quilt that binds the freedom-loving, hard-working people in this country together. So, slow down, grab a beverage, open your mind, and let us take you on a tour of the fascinating histories and heartfelt traditions that lie just beyond the horizon. This is Preservation Oaks, where every story is a stitch in the fabric of our shared culture. Now, join our host, Sean Radcliff, as he uncovers another thread in the tapestry of America's heritage and what it takes to preserve it.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to Preservation Oaks, the podcast celebrating the people, places, and organizations working every day to protect our shared history for generations to come. I'm your host, Sean Radcliff. I'm back from holiday, refreshed, and so glad you're here with me. If my voice sounds a little different, it's because I just got a new microphone in the studio, and to me, it sounds clearer and crisper. You let me know what you think when you can, okay? I'd like to thank Emily Garcia for hosting the last episode of the podcast. I think she did a great job. Please give her any feedback you have. It'll mean a lot to her. Today we're exploring the fascinating world of the Mines Museum of Earth Science, located on the beautiful campus of the Colorado School of Mines in Golden, Colorado. Our guest for this episode is Executive Director Renata Lafler, a geologist, professional gemologist, educator, and passionate advocate for earth science education. She's a true scientist and professional. Together, we'll explore the remarkable story of one of America's outstanding earth science museums. Its world-class collections of minerals, fossils, gemstones, meteorites, and mining history, and discover why understanding the earth beneath our feet remains as important today as ever. Whether you're a long-time listener or you've just discovered Preservation Oaks, thank you for spending part of your day with us. Every episode is an opportunity to meet dedicated individuals from museums, historical societies, archives, genealogical organizations, and preservation groups whose work helps ensure that the stories of yesterday remain available to inspire tomorrow. We always enjoy hearing from our listeners. If you have questions about today's episode, comments you'd like to share, or ideas for future guests and topics, we'd love to hear from you. Simply send us an email at preservationoaks@gmail.com. If you enjoy what you hear today, one of the best ways you can support Preservation Oaks is by liking following, commenting on, or subscribing to the podcast wherever you listen. Those simple actions help more people discover the remarkable organizations and dedicated individuals we feature on the program. You'll find Preservation Oaks on Podbean and across the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, and many others, making it easy to listen wherever you enjoy your favorite podcasts. Now, like many of the remarkable people we've had the privilege of meeting on Preservation Oaks, Renata Lafler's journey has taken her through several fascinating chapters, each building upon the last. She earned her bachelor's degree in geology and later completed a master's degree in geosciences, where her research focused on the Raman spectra of gemstones, the unique light signatures that help scientists identify and study precious minerals. Along the way, she became a fellow of the Gemological Association of Great Britain, one of the world's most respected credentials in gemology. Renata's passion for earth science has extended well beyond the classroom and the laboratory. She led gemstone education for jewelry television, helping people better understand the beauty, science, and history behind gemstones before bringing that wealth of knowledge and experience to the museum world. Today, as Executive Director of the Mines Museum of Earth Science at the Colorado School of Mines, she combines her expertise in geology, gemology, mining history, museum education, and public outreach to inspire visitors of all ages to discover the remarkable stories hidden beneath the Earth's surface. It's a privilege to welcome Renata Lafler to Preservation Oaks. All right, this is the Preservation Oaks Podcast, episode 130. Now let's journey beneath the surface and discover the remarkable stories waiting to be uncovered. Let's see what we can learn today. Welcome to the program, Renata.
Thank you so much for having me, Sean.
You know, Colorado's produced everything from gold and silver to molybdenum, uranium, and rare minerals. Is there one mineral that you think deserves far more attention than it usually receives?
That is a great question, Sean. I would say the answer to that is rhodochrosite.
Whoa.
So rhodochrosite is a mineral that maybe you've heard of only if you're really into rocks and minerals. And we have one of the most famous localities for rhodochrosite here in Colorado. It is a manganese carbonate mineral. So it's like Tums. It's like a really pretty version of Tums.
Oh, okay.
It's very thermally sensitive. It's chemically sensitive, just like Tums would be when it interacts with your stomach acid. It has something called rhombohedral cleavage, which means 3 planes of weakly bonded atoms. And that makes it especially challenging to handle. And it's this gorgeous, almost, it's like watermelon Jolly Rancher color in its finest quality. And it comes from the Sweet Home mine that is now closed, and that's in Alma, Colorado. And it is actually the state of Colorado's mineral. It's our state mineral.
Oh,
And
cool.
that was created actually by a group of high schoolers and their teacher. That effort was led to create the state mineral of Colorado. And so that's rhodochrosite. And it is very, like I said, very beautiful, super rare, really challenging to cut. So we actually have a necklace here at the museum that's made of rhodochrosite gemstones. And I can't even imagine the amount of sweating that the poor gem cutter was undergoing as he was handling this incredibly expensive, rare, beautiful material, because it just wants to break. It just wants to break. That's like in its nature. So that would be it. That would be the spectacular mineral that most people don't know about.
I'll have to
You
go
can
look it up. I've never heard of this thing.
Yeah, and they have 2 other localities that are pretty famous for rhodochrosite, and that's Argentina. But the way that the rhodochrosite forms is very different there. It forms as cave deposits, like stalactites, so from dripping water.
Oh, okay.
And for that reason, it's not really gem quality. It's not transparent or translucent. And then one other place is in Schwining, which is in South Africa, and they have spectacular rhodochrosite specimens, but their shapes are very different. They form these sort of pointy crystals. We call them bipyramidal crystals. And so they're very, very different than what we have here in Colorado. So that's Colorado's jam right there, rhodochrosite.
Wow. That's wild. So it's not the state mineral because it's so pervasive across the state. It's so rare that it became the state
Yeah.
mineral.
Yeah, yep. It was selected because it's so special and it's really attractive. Like if you come to the museum and you just kind of step back and you sort of let your eyes pan across the exhibits, the color of it is very distinctive. Like you will be drawn to it. You'll be like, oh, what is that bright red, beautiful crystal? And you'll walk
Oh,
right to it.
cool. That is really cool. I got to tell you, I don't understand minerals or crystals or any of that at all. I do not understand in my mind how these things can be created by the earth, you know? It just
Yeah.
doesn't compute to me. So any help you can give me along the way, that would help a lot.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I can say this just in a general sense without going into all of the details. Minerals are essentially Mother Nature's little puzzles, beautiful little puzzles. The symmetry, so the way that the atoms or the recipe for the mineral, the way those atoms are combined, the way that they're bonded together, form distinct groups according to how they're put together, their shapes. And those shapes can be simple, like a cube, like you would see in rock salt or pyrite, for example, fool's gold. And they can get increasingly more complicated in their shapes because their symmetry can get more complicated.
All right.
And so you get those building blocks put together in a variety of different environments. So high pressure, low pressure, different temperatures. And then, of course, all of the ingredients have to be there in the right amounts. And so you have minerals that are more common simply because there's more of those ingredients on Earth's surface. And then you have minerals that are rarer because there isn't as much of those ingredients to go around. So it's pretty amazing. And I'm honestly, even though this is what I've studied my whole life, I'm always in awe of the variety. Like Mother Nature will not be outdone.
Yeah.
She will not be outdone with all the incredible shapes and colors and even combinations of minerals. It's pretty incredible.
It is incredible. Now, the museum itself has roots reaching back almost to the founding of the university itself. How did this remarkable collection actually begin?
That's a great question. So it's a long history. And so you'll have to travel back in time with me a little bit, Sean, to get to the sort of root of all of this. So the Colorado School of Mines, which is our host campus, is in the town of Golden in Colorado, which is west of Denver. And Golden was found in June of 1859 during the gold rush. Okay, so most people assume that the town of Golden was named for gold, the mineral, because of the gold rush. But in fact, that is incorrect.
Oh.
Ironically, a prospector named Thomas Golden, he came to Golden. And so Golden was named for this man in 1859. And so about a decade later, we had a bishop named George Randall. He was Episcopal and he was in Golden and he established a school to fill the sort of need for expert people, scientists, engineers to serve this mining boom, essentially, that business around this mining boom during the gold rush. And so he created the Jarvis Hall Collegiate School, and that was in Golden. And he, again, formed it. It was, of course, a vocational school initially with science because he was Episcopalian. And so he essentially started the school to support the business that was occurring in and around the Golden area.
Okay.
And then in 1874, this is even before Colorado was a state, mind you, it was still a territory. And so in 1874, Jarvis Hall became a part of the Territorial School of Mines. That was done by the territory that was not yet called Colorado. And that during that territorial school establishment, Arthur Lakes, also a pastor, also Episcopalian, was there. And initially, Arthur Lakes, he was like an artist. He did lots of drawing and sketching, but he was fascinated by science. And so he hooked up with Bishop Randall at the Territorial School of Mines and he began offering classes. So he started teaching about minerals, actually. So funny little sidebar, Sean, is this is sort of like what came first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah.
So people frequently ask me when the museum itself was founded, and we associate it with the 1874 date because that is when Arthur Lakes began collecting rocks, minerals, and fossils to use in his classes.
Right.
That was the initial founding of the collection. However, there was no building for these rocks, minerals. He was just bringing them out, right? He was just bringing these things out in his class. So they weren't actually formally exhibited until 1877. So we didn't have a building until 1877. Now, I would argue that you can have a museum without a building, but you can't have a museum if you have a building and no collection.
Right. Right. Yep.
So we are going to stick with 1874. I'm just rolling with it. It also is conveniently when Colorado School of Mines celebrates its anniversaries, right?
Right.
It's the founding in 1874. So then 2 years later, they're rocking and rolling, pun intended. They're doing their teaching. And then in 1876, Colorado becomes a state.
Right.
Now, Arthur Lakes is actually pretty special. He obviously started off, he was British. He started off with these sort of humble beginnings, right? He was an artist. He developed this passion for science. And then he became a geologist, a paleontologist. And in 1877, he actually, while he was working for mines as a professor, he discovered dinosaurs, dinosaur bones at the Morrison Formation, which is very close to where we are in Golden.
Right.
And so he discovered Stegosaurus, Apatosaurus, all these really famous special dinosaurs, which was pretty incredible. So that was really on the very edge of what then became the Bone Wars, coming in and fighting over vertebrate dinosaurs.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So all of this is going on. He's discovering dinosaurs, and the museum's exhibit goes up in Jarvis Hall, which was one of the original buildings. And then in 1878, it burns down along with the entire collection. So everything disappears. It's all gone. Arthur Lakes is like, I'm going to rebuild the collection because I'm still teaching. So he does that, and he is officially named the first curator of the museum in 1880.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, I admit, after that, because from 1880 to 2026, like there was quite a lot of moving and shaking that went on. And so the collection grew and it moved several more times. In 1906, it was moved to Guggenheim Hall, which is a building that is still on campus. That's where all of the upper executive team are housed. And then in 1922, it was put in storage. Then it came out from storage in 1940 and was going to be exhibited again in Berthoud Hall, which was the geology department's new building. But then there was the war. And so in order to make room for the Army's wartime training facilities on campus, they packed the collection back up again. So it's like,
Wow.
just kidding. Off we go. Now, after the war, they came back out of storage and they were exhibited in Berthoud Hall. And the collection grew to over 40,000 objects by the time 1985 rolled around.
Wow.
And then it was on exhibit in Berthoud until 2003, when our then president of the university, Dr. John Trefny, decided we really needed a proper formal museum building for this incredible collection that had grown since its founding in 1874. And so in 2003, we received our current location, our current building on campus, which is at 1310 Maple Street.
Oh, very cool. What a legacy. Oh my gosh.
It's a long, long legacy.
They were very persistent back then that this was going to happen, whether it burned down or not.
That's right.
That is very
That's
good.
right.
Wow. Very cool. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
You know, here in Salt Lake City, I have and I just noticed it because of this interview, I have a crystal store. And I guess people, they attribute certain attributes to certain crystals. Like, you know, if you want love, you get this crystal. I don't know how it works, but you know how that is. And I
do.
guess it's always been that way. Why do you think those objects capture people's imagination at almost every age?
You know, Sean, I gotta say, I know that what you're telling me is the truth simply because I have just seen it for myself. I have my own kids, and I see them, pick up all kinds of objects, not just rocks, but shells and things on the beach, right?
Yeah.
And so I've frequently hear guests say, "Oh, I'm not a geologist, but I had a rock collection as a kid." I mean, even my husband had a rock collection as a kid, right? And so I have reflected on this over time because I decided to study them. So I was interested in them as a young child also. But I think that there is just something almost instinctual about human beings. I think humans are attracted to beauty and to tangible objects, and that I think they've always wanted to be able to like hold on to that beauty, to grab onto it, to physically experience it, right? Not just to witness it. And so, believe it or not, one of my museum colleagues, she told me that there is an archaeological term for rocks that are discovered in digs that have been moved intentionally by human beings. And so the word for that is manuport, which I just think is so cool.
Oh
Like it
yeah,
is
that's
so
cool.
it has happened, right? Like people have been picking up rocks since the beginnings of time. And these movements of these objects are actually documented and well known, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's just I really just think there's something intriguing about how they look, how they feel, even what they symbolize, right? Like you were talking about people attributing certain stones to, right, maybe some kind of superstitious or supernatural powers,
Yeah.
but beyond that, I would say there's also just this, I don't know, there's just this draw that makes you realize like, oh wow, this is cool. There's something more here than just me, right? There's something more to this. Like how, like we were saying before, how could this thing possibly have been created?
Yeah.
This is why, right? Like in all of its perfection or in all of its imperfection. And so a lot of times these things were also associated with status. So if something was beautiful and it was rare, everyone wanted to have it, but only the wealthiest maybe would have it,
Oh
only the
yeah.
most special people, right? That's why we have things like crown jewels,
Yeah.
you know,
Makes
sort of
sense.
that status. And to this day, gemstones really are a luxury item. It's something that's reserved for very special occasions. And yeah, it's amazing. But I really think there's something about that tactile and beauty that just makes people want it.
Yeah. Now, golden has become known worldwide because of the Colorado School of Mines, as you mentioned. Do students ever tell you what first inspired them to choose this unique university?
I have to say my favorite stories. So we actually at the museum have a bunch of student workers who run our front desk. So if you come and see us, just be so nice to them and ask them about what they're doing and what they're studying because their stories are fascinating. My favorite stories about students at Mines when they are kids and come here to the museum on a field trip and they remember the museum, and then when they grow up and they're looking into universities, they have this sort of feeling, this sort of nostalgic, warm and fuzzy feeling about the museum. And so we've had several students, quite a few, who have come to Mines because they had first come to the museum as a kid and loved the rocks and minerals and were sort of wowed by it, right? So
Oh,
I love
cool.
those. I would say overall, Mines used to be sort of a mining institution, right? We talked about that. It was here to serve the mining boom, and it has really evolved and changed into an engineering dominant institution. So there's all kinds of engineering here. We have students that are doing things like forging swords and building robots to working on F1 cars, like race cars. It's crazy. And so this place is unique in that it is a nerd paradise. Like nerd paradise. All the nerds are here.
Cool. That's cool. That's
So
excellent.
if you are a nerd, I
Uh,
highly recommend checking out Minds because you would be in really good company.
yeah. It's rated like as the number one university for engineering and for mines across the entire world.
Yeah, it's incredible. We are a Research One institution as well. So there's lots of research projects and grants and funding coming through Minds to again just keep us on the edge of innovation. So
Yeah.
we're proud to be a part of this institution. It's gotten an incredible reputation and it has continues to earn that reputation. I will say that students also come here because when they graduate, they have a very high placement rate into positions post-graduation.
Okay.
And the average annual salary for those graduates is $84,000 a year.
Wow, that's good. That's
So
good.
pretty high.
Yeah.
Yeah, the industry connections at mines make it a place where if you come here and you want to get a job, there's a really good chance it's going to happen for you.
Now, I've discovered that almost every museum has at least one object that the staff affectionately calls their hidden gem. Does your museum have one of those?
Wow, boy, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I think it would depend on who you ask. And so I will tell you what I think is the hidden gem of our museum, and that is a meteorite in our lower level space section. And it's called the Murchison meteorite. And so it's actually it's a famous meteorite if you're into meteorites. I didn't actually know about it until I came here. And this is a recent loan. So this was loaned to us within the last 3 years. And it came from the Field Museum in Chicago. And the Murchison meteorite was a gigantic space rock that fell near Murchison in Australia. And that was in 1969. It it's incredible because it contains lots of organic compounds, water, and pre-solar stardust, meaning like dust that is older than our solar system.
Oh,
And they
yeah.
have since discovered that it contains early amino acids, which are the building
Mm,
blocks for life itself.
wow. Oh,
Yes, incredible. So I think the blast area was like a 13 square kilometer space, and the Field Museum had a group of scientists over there, and so they collected the majority of this material. It's obviously very rare, very expensive if you were to try to purchase it, but there's like more than 70 amino acids in these samples. It's totally wild. And if you look at it currently, it's just like a little black rock sitting on a
yeah.
glass shelf with its label, and people walk by it like they don't realize how crazy this is. Like it's definitely the oldest object we have in the museum.
So you're saying
Probably.
essentially that these meteorites fly around in space, being dislodged from God knows where, and
Yes.
they hit a planet at some point, and it could happen. It may not always happen, but it could happen where they release their amino acids and life starts on that planet.
It could be if all the conditions were right. I mean,
Oh
if all the
my
conditions
God.
were right. Yeah, it's just really crazy. I mean, space rocks are wild. They really are pretty wild. We have meteorites that came from, the moon or Mars, right? And there's this whole complicated categorization scheme and whatnot for those that I will not go into because I am not an expert. But just the fact that these things are so old,
Yeah.
it's just wild. I mean, they think that some of the particles inside the Murchison meteorite are like 7 billion years old.
Oh my
That's
God.
and Earth is 4.54 billion years old. So think about that.
Wow.
It's insane.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That's
Yeah.
pretty crazy. Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing that. That's really wild.
Yeah.
Now, you've personally worn a number of hats throughout your career. You're a geologist, an educator, a museum director, and a professional gemologist. What is a gemologist anyway, and how is that different from being a geologist?
Great question. So gemology and geology, they're related, right? They're related. So geology is the study of Earth, and there are lots of sort of subcategories in that. You could study water, you could study minerals, you could study rocks and specific kinds of rocks, only volcanic rocks or only sedimentary rocks, and so on and so forth. So geology is really kind of a big word. And gemology is very simply put, it's the study of gemstones. Now, most gemstones are minerals. So, you have to know your minerals
Yeah.
if you're gonna study gems, but not all. So we have organic gems would be like pearls, shell, things like that,
Oh,
ivory. And then we have rocks can also be gemstones. So things like lapis or jade might be gems. And so, yeah, being a gemologist is essentially studying gemstones. And so I started off studying geology, and then I specialized in mineralogy. And then I really fell in love with gems. I just think they're incredible. Again, I think it's that beauty that captures you, their inherent value, understanding. I think they're a challenge, a unique challenge. If you look at minerals, they have distinct shapes and associated combinations, right? Which makes them easier to identify visually. But a gemstone has all of that stripped away, right? The shape is removed and an artificial shape is given based on the gem cutter's preferences, right? So I like that challenge. It's more like more like detective work when you have to identify gems.
Just amazing. Yeah, I forgot about cutting gems. That's
Yeah,
craziness to me. I mean, how do you
it
not
is.
chip this thing, Holy
It takes
cats.
a lot of skill. I mean, I must admit, like I've got to stick to the science because I took one class, which was a cabochon making class. And a cabochon is just a flat, like domed top. So you would just cut something that's opaque, like a rock, for
Yeah,
example, and just polish it to have like a domed top. Like it sounds like pretty straightforward.
yeah.
It was awful. I was just terrible at it. I could not make that thing symmetrical for the life of me.
Yeah, and you think in today's day and age, you just put the rock in a machine and the machine will do it for you, right? Not that
So much
simple.
of it no, and so much of it is done by hand. I mean, there are definitely tools, computers and instruments that people are using, to sort of hone their craft, but a lot of the best cutters are doing things by hand. It's amazing.
Wow. Renata, this may sound like a silly question to you, being the expert you are, but I'm curious. For eons of time, people have been digging up gemstones from the earth and then adorning their garments and accoutrements like jewelry and crowns, like you mentioned. Today, in the 21st century, can we now commercially create any of these gemstones without the need for mining them from the earth? Or if not, do we understand enough about geology so that we can easily determine where exactly the X is on the map, where the right spot to dig for a given type of gemstone is?
So this is a pretty heavy duty question, Sean. So I'm going to sort of tackle it in parts. So the first part I will say is this. Yes, we absolutely can and do make certain minerals, including gem minerals. So we can mass produce synthetic diamonds, for example, and use them for industrial purposes, right? We can put them on drill bits, etc. We can create synthetic corundum. And synthetic corundum is like a ruby or sapphire. And we can create that in a laboratory. And we use those, for example, for lasers or even as components in really strong glass.
Okay.
Right. So there's definitely and also for gemstones, by the way, like for cutting and putting into jewelry, we can create all kinds of synthetic quartz like amethyst. We can do, like I said before, synthetic ruby and sapphire, also for gems, synthetic diamonds. We can create things that are not, common in nature, right? Like we can make synthetic cubic zirconia, man-made material. We can do all kinds of things. It's all a question of economic viability. So does it make sense economically to do this? So is the material in high enough demand that it makes sense to create the instrumentation necessary at the pressures and temperatures necessary to essentially cook this stuff up, in order to use it for a variety of purposes. And so in the case of gemstones, a lot of times the answer is yes, right? So we can definitely do it. It takes, like I said, it takes money, it takes time, and it takes a person. And certain gems are more expensive to create than others. So diamonds, natural diamonds are formed deep in the mantle, way, way down under Earth's surface. And they're actually brought to the surface by these fast moving volcanic pipes. We call them kimberlites or lamproites. And they shoot these diamonds to the surface and then they're discovered, right? And so these deposits have special features and geologists know how to look for them, right? They know what to do. But the pressure and temperature that is required to form diamond is pretty high. And
Yeah.
so to replicate that in the lab is more expensive, for example, than creating ruby or sapphire. That being said, there's still a big commercial, synthetic diamonds are still big commercial business. Like it's a big deal. Now, as far as discovering deposits, the answer to your question is yes, we have a lot of knowledge on how to discover different deposits of minerals as long as they're economically viable. Now, here's the kicker. I know a lot of people who've mined, including people who own their own mines, and they can do all the science. They can take samples and they can test the chemistry and they can determine, should I go up, down, right, or left? But Mother Nature still like has a mind of her own. So I think that is the sort of thing about the business that's fun and exciting and sometimes devastating, is that you can have all the tools at your disposal and you can still be tricked. Like you can get going, you might trace a deposit of a valuable mineral, and then all of a sudden there's nothing there, because some of the formation components really has to do with sort of luck. Like you have to have space for crystals to form, for example. And so if any one of those things is a little bit different, it may not produce what you're expecting.
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it takes a certain kind of person to be like a mining engineer or an exploration geologist, because you can know a lot, and be equipped with a lot of fancy tools. And by George, Mother Nature she'll still get you sometimes.
Oh gosh. Yeah, it's still very much, well, I guess that you would call it a science, right? It's very
Yes,
much, it's very,
it
well,
is.
maybe a crapshoot. I don't know.
A
Yeah.
crapshoot too,
Yeah.
exactly.
Wow. That is crazy. Thank you for that. Yeah, sometimes today you just think, well, we can just make anything, you know. The queen
Right.
says, "Hey, I want a crown," and you go out to the lab and you make whatever and make her a crown, right? No big deal. But it doesn't
Yeah,
work that way in reality.
it sure doesn't. It
Wow.
it sure doesn't.
Well, Renata, it's time for a break for a few minutes.
Perfect.
Listeners, we'll be right back after an important message about supporting this important national museum with your donations and volunteering.
Beneath every landscape lies a remarkable story, written in stone, shaped by time, and waiting to be discovered. The Mines Museum of Earth Science in Golden, Colorado helps bring that story to life. Through fascinating minerals, gemstones, fossils, meteorites, mining artifacts, and other geological treasures, the museum introduces visitors of all ages to the extraordinary forces that have shaped Colorado, our planet, and the universe beyond it.
Preserving and sharing these collections requires more than display cases. It takes people who believe that scientific knowledge, natural history, and educational discovery should remain accessible for generations to come. The Mines Museum of Earth Science always has free admission and welcomes the support of donors and volunteers who would like to become part of their important mission.
Financial contributions can help the museum care for its collections, strengthen educational opportunities, support exhibits, and continue inspiring students, families, researchers, and curious visitors.
Volunteers can contribute something equally valuable: their time, experience, enthusiasm, and willingness to help others discover the wonders of Earth science. Whether someone has a lifelong interest in geology or simply enjoys learning and serving the community, there may be a place for them at the museum.
To learn more about donating or volunteering, visit mines.edu, call 303-273-3815, or email geomuseum@mines.edu. The Mines Museum of Earth Science is located at 1310 Maple Street in Golden, Colorado. The museum can also be found on Facebook by searching for Mines Museum.
Help preserve the evidence of Earth's remarkable past and help inspire the people who will study, protect, and understand it in the future. Support the Mines Museum of Earth Science today.
Welcome to the Genealogy Lab, where curiosity meets discovery. Here's professional genealogist Diana Chrisman Smith, a seasoned explorer of family histories, uncovering the evidence that connects us across generations. Diana opens the lab doors, and inside her lab, she'll share quick tips, cool discoveries, and smart tools to help you map out your roots like a pro. So, grab your notebooks. It's time to enhance your research with this segment of the Genealogy Lab.
Welcome to the Genealogy Lab. Pull up a chair and join me for a bit of curiosity and discovery. I hear people saying, "Oh, I can't use church records. I don't know what church they attended." Or, "My people weren't joiners, so they won't be mentioned." Or, "There weren't any churches, their denomination in that town." I reject all of those excuses and say, you won't know until you look. I found some real surprises, like 3 ancestors, different lines, different eras, who donated land for a new church because there was no church of their denomination. Often, until there was one, they attended the nearest church of some reasonably similar denomination. Oh no, they were staunch Catholics. If there wasn't a Catholic church there yet, they would sometimes find a denomination that celebrated similarly, maybe Episcopalian, or if they couldn't find anything closer, Lutheran or Methodist. Yes, those are a bit more distant from Catholic, but there are similarities, and if they missed having theological guidance, it was often close enough. Some churches kept better or more complete records than others. In addition to many others along the way, I've been fortunate to have ancestors who were often Quakers, also known as Friends, or Lutheran. I find both denominations to be detailed and sometimes a bit obsessive about the information they recorded. They also maintained the records, and I found many for both denominations online, not just in the US, but overseas. I found German Lutherans, Danish Lutherans, and Quakers in other countries. It may not be everything, but it's kept me busy for years tracking my families through the records. It's wonderful. Now, most churches will have at least births and baptisms, marriages, including the announcement of the banns in many cases. That's the, if anyone has objection to this marriage to take place in so many weeks, speak now part. They'll also have deaths, or more accurately, funeral and burial information, if either was at the church or the associated churchyard. In addition, you might find bonuses such as confirmations. That's usually somewhere in the 12 to 15 age range. First communions, if that's practiced in their denominations. There may also be unusual information for certain times and places. The Danish Lutheran records I use have vaccination date. When smallpox vaccine became available, it was mandated for use before leaving the home to get a job. So the church facilitated an appropriate medical team coming in and vaccinating all the eligible children. These records are great because they give the name, the father's name, and the age of each child. And of course, they're parish registers, so I have the parish the child was in with all their other records. Different denominations will have other information in the what might be called minutes, which might be limited to disciplinary actions taken, or might include every decision made by a group such as Presbyterians, who have much more democratic rule by the congregation than many others. When you find your congregation, read every page. Then investigate the organization of the church and find out if there's a structure above the congregation which makes rules or hears grievances. You'll want to read that information too. Well, that's a brief intro. So for more information on using church and parish records, here are some resources I found very helpful. Cindy's List. There's a category for religion and churches with about 400 links for various denominations. And be sure to browse the topics for hidden nuggets. One of the related categories I found was Schwenkfelder, which happens to be a Protestant faith of one of my immigrant families. There weren't many of them, only 40 or 50 families. But Cindy has 10 links for me to explore. Obviously, there are more links under some of the more well-known faiths. And don't forget to browse the topics for the area of interest. The record you want may be hiding in plain sight if you just look. Family Search. Research Wiki. Look for the denomination or the location of interest. If you look for a town, county, state, it may give a list of the major denominations included. The town or the county, it will often give all the churches that were there and links to more information. So look for this. If the denomination used printed record books, Family Search may also have information in the wiki on the headings used, and if it's a foreign language, even translations in some cases. Heritage Books has over 400 different church records titles, including abstracts from individual congregations or regional abstracts. There are also records from all over the world. Browse to see what's relevant for you. Look for a specific place also to pin it down more and see what's listed for sources under that place. Genealogical Publishing Company has similar collections with different records, so check there too. And to find more online, don't forget to Google the denomination or the location you search. I also use these search terms on YouTube to find videos, including many by well-known organizations and genealogists. There is a book by Sunny Jane Morton called How to Find Your Family History in U.S. Church Records, which you might want to check out. It has specific resources for major Christian denominations before 1900. And if you're looking in Ireland, Brian Mitchell's book, A Guide to the Irish Parish Registers, might be helpful. Where would genealogy be without church records? I didn't expect my ancestors to have been church folk, but I have been very surprised to see how active they were. Don't forget to look for everything and cite your sources for everything you find. Well, that's it for today. Stay curious. This is Diana Chrisman-Smith, and I'll see you from my lab next time.
You've been inside the Genealogy Lab with Diana Chrisman-Smith, where every clue, every record, and every story brings us one step closer to knowing who we are. Stay curious and stay tuned for more from Preservation Oaks. You can connect with Diana by email at talkgenealogy@gmail.com. She loves speaking to genealogy and history groups of all kinds.
And now, back to Preservation Oaks.
Welcome back to Preservation Oaks. I'm your host, Sean Radcliff. Today we're visiting with Renata Lafler, Executive Director of the Mines Museum of Earth Science. Before we continue, wasn't that marvelous information from professional genealogist Diana Chrisman-Smith? Church and parish records can open remarkable windows into the lives of our ancestors, and we sincerely thank Diana for sharing another informative and valuable edition of the Genealogy Lab. And now let's return to our conversation with Renata. Folks, it's time to let you all know the contact information for the museum and university. Now, the Mines Museum of Earth Science is part of the Colorado School of Mines, as Renata mentioned, which is an internationally recognized public research university in Golden, Colorado. It's rated as the #1 mineral and mining university in the world. To learn more about the Colorado School of Mines, visit mines.edu. The school's main campus is located at 1500 Illinois Street in Golden, Colorado, 80401. You can call at 303-273-3000 or toll-free 800-446-9488. You may also use email communications at mines.edu or find the school on Facebook by searching for Colorado School of Mines. To contact or plan a visit to the Mines Museum of Earth Science, which, by the way, has free admission, please visit mines.edu/museum. The museum is located at 1310 Maple Street in Golden, Colorado, 80401. You can phone the museum directly at 303-273-3815 or email geomuseum at minds.edu. You can also find the museum on Facebook by searching for Minds Museum. Does that all sound right, Renata?
Sounds good.
Renata, how does your organization serve the community and what are its primary goals?
I'm really glad you asked that, Sean. We are an earth science museum, but unlike other museums, we are not a research museum. We actually are outreach focused. So we have an incredible collection that we maintain, and we really, really, really try to get that collection out in front of people, whether through special events, school tours, for example, field trips. We have a little scavenger hunt. So any kind of programs that take our rocks that are in boxes, what we are, I've got a lot of rocks in boxes here, and put them in front of people so that they can interact with them and learn. That's our primary mission.
All right,
What else?
fantastic. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Mhm.
Renata, could you share your personal journey and how it led you to your current role in the organization?
I would love to share that. So it's pretty interesting. Again, we talked about how kids love rocks when they're little, right? Or a lot of people actually had rock collections when they were young. And so for me, I grew up in suburban Chicagoland. And if you're not familiar with the geology of Chicago, it is it is glaciated. And what that means is a long time ago, a big sheet of ice scraped off all the good rocks. And so it is relatively flat, not necessarily ideal environment for a budding geologist to grow up in, but that is the hand I was dealt. So I went to a Catholic school when I was young. And in second grade, I had a teacher. Her name was Sister Joanne. And we were playing bingo. And like any good kid playing bingo, you never win, right? You like never ever win. Except on this fateful day, I won. And I was like, bingo, sister, bingo. And she had me come up, and there was like the typical assortment of, 90s goodies, right? Like colorful erasers and pencils and other things. And there was this box, nondescript box of rocks sitting on Sister Joanne's desk. It was like not part of the prize pool.
Yeah.
I pointed to it and I said, Sister, can I have the box of rocks? And she's like these right here? I just collected these on my trip to Germany when I was out and about. I'm like, yeah, I would really like the rocks. And I'm not kidding you, Sean, she gave them to me. And
As a
I
sister
don't
would.
know. I guess that's right. Like in her
Yeah.
generosity, right? And
Yeah.
I took them home and I held them in my hands and I laid them all out on the ground and I sort of fell in love. Like I think that that is when my love affair with rocks really began.
Oh,
And then I would beg my parents to take me to any cave, any, right, like any kind of place when we would travel, any place that had something to do with geology. And so I already loved science. I knew I loved science and I had already loved rocks. And I was very blessed in high school to have a geology class my junior year because I was trying to figure out, am I going to be a chemist? Am I going to be a physicist? What am I going to do? And I took this geology class, absolutely loved it, was terrible at it, by the way, could not identify minerals. I was really bad at it, but I just loved it so much. And I remember coming home and telling my parents, like, I was going to be a geologist. And of course, they were thinking, like, what are you going to do with a geology degree? You're
yeah.
going to study rocks? Are you serious? And the rest is history. I went and got my bachelor's degree at St. Norbert College in De Pere, Wisconsin. And then that was in obviously a bachelor's in geology. And then I got my master's degree in earth sciences from the University of Arizona in Tucson, which is the most incredible place to go for school in mineralogy specifically. And then I went on and had a wonderful career in academia and then the corporate world and then back here to the museum. And so it's been like sort of a wild ride, but I always knew that I loved rocks and I sort of stuck to it. Even during the recession when I left grad school, I taught night classes, like I did everything I could to stay involved in geology.
Yeah. God has a path for each one of us.
I'll tell you what, it's been fascinating. And so I started my position here in 2018, actually, and I had a multi-year stint at Jewelry Television in Knoxville, doing lots of behind-the-scenes education, assisting with expertise on quality control and other things, and actually worked to publish a 3-volume book set on gemstones,
Cool.
which is incredible. So it's been a really wonderful experience. I've been able to travel all over the place. I did 6 months of studying in New Zealand. I did a 6-week stint in Sardinia. I mean, I've just been all over, seeing all kinds of incredible rocks.
Well, Preservation Oaks is glad to have you here. We're honored to have you here with your qualifications and your background, and the museum is lucky to have you, that's for sure.
Oh, thank you so much. We're just really glad to be able to participate in this wonderful project.
Renata, what upcoming exciting events or exhibitions should the community keep an eye out for at the museum?
Well, we are very proud to offer a variety of programs, and most of them, I would say almost all of them, are free. So we offer 4 times a year a Mineral ID Day, and that is a 3 to 4 hour session where we get a panel of experts and we set them up in the classroom outside of the museum. And you can bring 3 rocks per person, or minerals, or gemstones, or meteorites, and have them identified. And so that's a really cool thing. We have a great turnout every time we do it. So that's 4 times a year. All these events will be posted on our website. In October, we host a very popular free teal pumpkin friendly, which means we don't hand out any candy or food objects for the kids that have allergies. It's a trick-or-treating event that's science themed. And so we invite lots of participating local organizations that have science in their mission, and they come and run activities. We've had Wally, the Disney Wally robot. The Astromech Builders Club has come with Wally. Blast of the Burrow, the university's mascot, comes. Miss Colorado comes and she wears the crown. And, kids and their families can dress up in their costumes, get photos taken, and collect little goodies at each of our stations while learning more about science.
Fantastic. I can't even imagine how many young lives you all have influenced in a positive way. That's great. Just
I
great.
wish someone could figure out a way to quantify that, right? You just never know.
Yeah, exactly. You don't. It's sort of like Mother Nature with the minerals, you just
Yeah,
never know.
yeah.
I've got a rock. I found it out in the middle of Utah, but it's like a piece of lava.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
sure. It might be a piece of lava.
yeah, I think it is.
That's cool.
I think they call that igneous if I
Yes, that's
remember.
right. Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Volcanic rocks are igneous rocks. That's right.
Cool. Now, do you have any amusing or interesting anecdotes from your organization's past since 1874 that you'd like to share?
Okay, so I have actually lots of great stories. I'm not going to tell them all because I want you all to come and book a guided tour
Oh,
and
yeah.
have the students tell you all the stories, but I will tell you a few because they're just really good. And it's for those folks who may not make it to Golden. So the first story I'll tell you actually does date back to Arthur Lakes. So remember, he was our founder and a paleontologist. And in the summer of 1874, he had a group of students with him, and they went on a hike to South Table Mountain, which is just east of Golden. You can actually see it outside of the museum's window. And he had a student with him named Peter Dotson. And Peter, as he was walking along the path, found a big tooth fossil. Okay. And he was like, "Hey, Professor Lakes, I found this fossil." And Professor Lakes passed it along to one of the professors here at Mines. He's a geologist named Edward Berthoud. He's also famous. And Berthoud sent it to Yale to the very famous paleontologist, Dr. Marsh. And he was a very famous vertebrate paleontologist, meaning he studied dinosaurs. And they sent the tooth. They didn't hear anything about it. Right? It kind of like fell off the radar. It turned out many, many years later, like 2000, Kenneth Carpenter, another paleontologist at Yale, found it and declared that it was the first tooth of a T-Rex ever found.
Oh, my goodness.
We will never get it back, Sean. Like, it's like one of those finders keepers situations.
Oh, man. That's a great story.
Yeah, but the replica of that tooth is actually on exhibit at the Golden History Museum. So you can go and see the replica of it to see what it would have looked like when it was picked up out here. And then we also have a replica that we use when we give school group tours.
Oh,
So
that's fantastic.
it's like a consolation prize.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Now, you must get thousands of visitors every year. Can you recount any particularly memorable visitor experiences or feedback?
Yeah. So I do this thing. I don't know if other directors of museums do this, but I will take off my name badge and I will go to the front desk and I will sit there at the front desk. I'll work the front desk. I'll welcome guests. I'll count them. We also have a store, right? So I'll, do all the transactions on the cash register. And I was sitting there. This is recently. This is probably within the last 2 years. And there was this little girl, and she was visiting the museum with her mom. And she was wearing a t-shirt that said future geologist. And we have this scavenger hunt where you can find 6 tiny pewter burrows that we have hidden all over the museum because Blaster the Burrow is our mascot. And we accessorized them. It was a really creative idea that our outreach coordinator created. And so she had just found all the burrows. And your prize, spoiler alert, your prize for completing the scavenger hunt is a free rock. And so we got our little bucket of rocks out, and she was just elated. I mean, she couldn't believe that we were giving her a rock for free. Was so excited. And she came up to me and she said, this place is so amazing. I want to be a geologist. Do you work here? I said, yes, I do. I said, I run the museum. And she said, really? And I said, yeah. And she goes, I want to know how to be just like you.
Oh, gosh.
I want to know how to get a job just like yours. I mean, this girl must have been 7,
Yeah.
just tiny little thing. And it really is those moments, right? It's when guests will walk into our reproduction mine and go around the corner and they're surprised by our glow in the dark rock, right? And you hear them like squealing, that that's the stuff, right? Like that's the stuff right there. It's the future geologist,
Yeah. That builds the future right there. Great job. Also, great servant leadership skills. That's very cool. Very
Oh,
cool.
thank you. Well, you know what? We're a very tiny museum. We only have a 3-person staff here. Everyone else is either a student employee or a volunteer. And so we do all the things.
Oh,
We
wow.
are all roll up your sleeves. I know how to do all the jobs. That is what is required.
Oh, that's fantastic. Great story. Thank you. After America's 250th anniversary, what milestone comes next for the museum?
Well, Sean, I'm hoping that we have a major donor, maybe one of our listeners, contribute so that the museum can truly expand to fulfill our mission on a grander scale. So we are really hoping to launch a campaign to secure the financial longevity of the institution, which means making sure that we have money for staff in perpetuity through endowments. And we would love it, love it, love it. Now, Golden is tiny. There's not a lot of available real estate, but we would really love to have an expansion or a brand new building. That is the dream. That is the dream. I feel like we are currently only able to represent certain components of earth science, right? Just because our space is limited. So our total facility is about 15,000 square feet,
Yeah.
and 5,000 square feet of that is storage. And we just really need more room to tell the story of Colorado and its geology. Again, we have a lot of beautiful rocks and boxes. We really do. It's gorgeous. It's really something people can appreciate, but we want to be able to really tell the story.
Oh, yeah, that's great. It's a great aspiration. All right, listeners, if you're out there, you want to donate, please contact the museum and donate, donate, donate. It's important.
Make our dreams come true.
You bet. Now, Renata, what types of exhibits can visitors currently explore at the museum?
So most of our exhibits are minerals and rocks and gemstones that are behind glass. That is a limitation of ours. And that is simply because the samples themselves are very, very valuable and in some cases super fragile. We currently have the world's largest, most comprehensive, publicly exhibited collection of minerals from Colorado. So that is like our bragging point. And so when you come to the museum, our museum is unique in that our Colorado collection is organized by locality. And what that means is every place that you can visit in Colorado, we have it organized by location. So there's going to be an area that features all the rocks that you might find in Aspen or Vail or Creed or Cripple Creek. And that's important because I think in addition to seeing beautiful objects, you're also learning something about the geology. You can say, wow, I skied here, and these are the kinds of resources, natural resources that were under my feet, and I had no idea, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of those objects connect to the history of these different towns as well. And so we have those. So the upper level is primarily Colorado. We have an incredible collection of gold and silver, like amazing stuff. We have an incredible collection of gold coins that are on loan right now that are amazing. Those are also Colorado specific. We have moon rocks and meteorites, of course, fluorescent rocks and minerals, gemstones, the Miss Colorado crown, which I'll tell you more about later. This really special piece of jewelry in our collection. And we also have an exhibit that's dedicated to paleontology. So we have some dinosaur bones, we have lots of fossils, and because that's also a representation of the geology of Colorado.
Wow. What a nice place. Wow. That's great. Thank you for describing that, especially for people across the world.
Happy to do it.
Now, how often do your exhibits change, and what's the process for curating new ones?
So exhibits are probably the most, I would say, like time consuming component of the work that we do. We have a huge collection, about 45,000 rocks, minerals, objects. And of those, we have a certain percentage, a very small percentage actually on exhibit. So only about 3,000 items at any time are on exhibit for visitors to enjoy. It allows us a lot of opportunity to rotate. And so we try to rotate things at least twice a year, but for sure once annually around the time of the Denver Gem and Mineral Show, which happens in September every year.
Okay.
And so we know there's lots of people that come to town for that very special show. And so we're doing a rotation actually, like right now, as we speak, we're preparing to rotate a whole bunch of exhibits. So I would say, I don't know, it's probably about 15 to 25% of what we have on exhibit will rotate at least once a year, if we're lucky, twice a year. So there's always something fresh and new. Now, how we decide what's going to go on exhibit really just depends. So we have had a lot of interest from local collectors, local rock and mineral groups, for example, and they sometimes come to me and they have an idea and they're like, let's do this one thing. Or a university faculty member might have an interesting research project. So we're, for example, in the lower level of the museum, working to install an exhibit that's all about space mining. And if you want to think about something that blows your mind, imagine collecting resources from outer space. It's kind of insane. Yeah, so things like that, things that might be university related. And then sometimes we do things just for fun. So we recently launched an exhibit last year in September that's closing this September, that's all women mineral collectors. So that was pretty spectacular. So 9 different women brought their collections in to be showcased because they're just not featured very often. You know, the guys get a lot of credit in this industry, and I thought it was pretty important that the women got some credit too. And so we did that. That was pretty neat. Sometimes when we have our Halloween event, we'll do like spooky mineral cases, right? Or during Valentine's Day, we might do red and pink and white minerals, you know? So we try to keep it sort of fun and interesting to keep folks engaged, and not just experts, but people, you know, young people, families, people who just might think this is a neat thing to look at. So we try to incorporate ideas that are maybe a little more scientific in nature and maybe a little more fun.
Cool. Now, you know, we just had thousands and thousands and thousands of people come for the World Cup.
World Cup, I know. We did not like actually do anything that would have brought soccer folks, I don't think.
No, but they all went back home, from what I understand, and they really enjoyed their time in America. This annual mineral and mining show that you mentioned in September, what's it called again?
It is the Denver Gem and Mineral Show and Hard Rock Summit.
Okay.
It's
I mean,
like
those people may plan a trip next September or this September to the show.
That would be fantastic. The show usually runs about 2 weeks. And there are various locations across Denver where you can visit. And the museum does actually do a special exhibit at the show. So
that's cool.
this September, we're doing a special exhibit at the show, and the show has a different theme every year. And this year, the theme is red, white, and blue minerals. And so we are doing a very patriotic case because if you didn't know, Sean, this year marks the, and wait for it, it's a big word, sesquicentennial.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the anniversary.
August
of
1st.
Yep, the 250th birthday for the United States and the 150th birthday for Colorado. So those things just whoop, right in alignment. And so the exhibit at the show that Mines Museum is putting in is going to be honoring the sesquicentennial with red, white, and blue minerals from Colorado.
Fantastic. So people can jump on the web and what do you have to do? Buy tickets or something?
You can get tickets right at the door. Oftentimes, some of these places are free admission as well. And so you can just look at the dates and times that the show opens and just come and see us.
Oh, that's very cool. Yep. And at the same time, you can take in the museum.
That's right. Yep. And come to Golden.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice. Thank you for mentioning that. You know, in a normal museum, no, in a historic museum.
Yeah, typical.
Yeah, in a typical museum, I guess. You know, you have to care for artifacts, ephemera artifacts like paper and photographs and stuff like that, you know, in a certain way, in acid-free boxes, and things have to be done in a certain temperature-controlled way. But it just blows my mind how the complexities that you must face, because some of these minerals may crack or may deteriorate, and you have to potentially treat them in a special way. How do you do that for all the artifacts that you have?
Right. So we'll start here. Regarding paper and ephemera and things like that, we are very lucky. So because we are a university museum, we are actually a joint academic department with the library, ironically called the Arthur Lakes Library.
Cool.
And so because we're one department, a lot of our photographs, rare paper, maps, and other things go to our archivists over there who are professionals at maintaining those things. So we're very lucky in that we can send our delicate stuff that way. Now, rocks are interesting because, yes, you're right. A lot of them are very fragile, but it's interesting because we don't actually have to do all that much for the following reasons. So Colorado has a pretty dry climate, actually. And a lot of what is bad for certain minerals is water,
Right.
humidity, right? Like humidity can be super bad. You know, dryness isn't great for certain minerals either. Things like opal, they can desiccate, which is just a fancy word for crack, right? But you know, I would say, frankly, it's not too hard. It really isn't too hard. We very rarely have rocks like that are like really high maintenance.
Yeah.
Certain things we won't accept. So, for example, there are barites, that's a kind of mineral, and topaz from the Tarryall district, and those will fade. Like the color is not stable. So you can't put them in sunlight.
Right.
So they're definitely you basically, I would say this, if you know your minerals and you know the locations of those minerals, you kind of know the ones that are sort of tricky. Things like radioactives. Radioactives can get tricky. We have a lot of radioactive minerals in Colorado, and we have some in our collection as well. And so those things require special care, like ventilation, right? Like wearing a dosimeter to make sure that you're not getting too much radiation when you're working around them, and things like that, right? But rocks are pretty durable. And for the most part, everything we store in the back, we store in metal cabinets with drawers, and each object will have its own like sort of baby box, if you will, and plastic wrapping to keep it cushioned, you know? And when necessary, sometimes we put a lid on it, or if it has to be segregated, or if it has to be in the dark, or if it needs moisture, like we'll address that separately.
Okay. So there's no safe deep in the basement where you walk up and you crack the steel, then the smoke comes out, and then you know things like that are going on.
I mean, that would be much cooler.
Yeah, yeah.
But I am afraid not, Sean. That's like it's just not that cool. We do have safes, but our safes are out on exhibit. So all of our most precious sort of valuable things, like our moon rocks, for example, those are all in a safe and on display in a safe, you know?
Okay. So you mentioned out on exhibit. Are parts of your collection displayed outside the museum in traveling exhibits or things like that?
Yeah. So as I mentioned about the Denver Gem and Mineral Show, we do take temporary exhibits there, and in the show exhibit component is only like 4 days. So it's a quick turnaround. Okay, but we've done exhibits with other museums, for example. We have some things on campus, for example, outside of the building for exhibit in certain academic department displays and things like that. And then we also take temporary exhibits to the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show,
Okay.
which is another huge, this is probably the largest gem and mineral show in the world. And that's based in Tucson, Arizona. And it happens in February. And so we exhibit there as well. That's another temp exhibit. We have, believe it or not, some objects on exhibit at the president of the school's office. And we're always looking at other places. We have some things at the Colorado Railroad Museum in Golden. We have some things at you'll have to look it up, Sean. It's like the Mining and Industry Museum in Colorado Springs.
Okay.
And again, it all comes down to insurance, right? Like we only loan things out
Oh,
that
right.
we feel are going to be properly cared for and insured.
Renata, what's the most valuable ancient or popular exhibit or artifact in your collection?
Gracious. Okay, so there's a couple of heavy hitters. So it goes without saying that the moon rock is on loan from NASA,
Right.
and they won't disclose the value of it to us. So that means it's pretty valuable.
Pretty
I mean,
valuable. Yeah.
I think the thing about the moon rock is that it can't be replaced very easily.
Right. Yeah.
I
Holy
mean,
cow.
NASA's got a lot of those, right? But it's pretty special. We have two moon rocks actually, but the one that I'm referring to is on exhibit in a safe downstairs in the lower level, and it's in a nitrogen gas chamber that we don't
Oh,
open, we don't mess with it, we don't touch it, we just leave it.
wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it's incredible. So that's definitely one. I would say, and honestly, any of our gold, but especially the Ellison Betcher gold collection that's on exhibit in our special exhibits room and also in the gold coin safe upstairs. That collection is very valuable. I think the thing about gold that's interesting is most people assume that it's like a nugget, right? Like
Yeah.
it just gets bent out of shape because it's soft. And that's true. But the real value of gold specimens, I think, in any museum collection is the fact that many of our specimens are crystallized, meaning their actual form, their original form was preserved. And that's incredibly
Ah,
difficult to do when you consider all of the forces acting against that gold over millions of years. And so just losing gold to melt it down, for example, to make it into jewelry would be that would be really devastating
yeah.
because those objects, their value is not just in their weight, right? Their gold weight. It's also in the fact that they have these rare crystal formations, how old they might be, their historic provenance, right?
Well, yeah, I
So
didn't
our
know
gold
that
collection,
about gold. I think that's really cool.
yeah, so gold is a cubic mineral and it does form beautiful crystals. We call them dendrites. They can make all kinds of really beautiful crystals and they're very delicate. And so,
I'll be darned.
they're literally worth more than their weight.
I'll be darned. I did not know that. That's really cool. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Renata, but it's time for us to take a break for a few minutes.
That sounds great, Sean. We'll see you back here in a minute.
All right, listeners, we'll be right back after an important message about making a visit to the Mines Museum of Earth Science in Golden, Colorado. Remember that admission is free and also parking is free on weekends.
is an extraordinary story beneath our feet, a story written in minerals, fossils, gemstones, and stone. At the Mines Museum of Earth Science in Golden, Colorado, visitors can freely explore the natural wonders of our planet and discover the forces that have shaped it across billions of years.
Admission is free, and the museum's remarkable collections introduce guests to dazzling minerals and gemstones, fascinating fossils, meteorites from beyond Earth, historic mining artifacts, and geological specimens from Colorado and around the world. It is a place where science becomes something visitors can see, experience, and remember.
Families can introduce young explorers to the wonders of Earth science. Students can discover new interests and imagine future careers. Rockhounds, geologists, engineers, history enthusiasts, and lifelong learners can enjoy a closer look at the natural treasures and mining heritage that help tell the story of Colorado and the world beneath it.
Whether someone is planning a family outing, welcoming guests from out of town, exploring historic Golden, or simply looking for something fascinating to do, the Mines Museum of Earth Science offers an experience filled with beauty, discovery, and wonder.
The museum is located at 1310 Maple Street in Golden, Colorado. For visitor information, call 303-273-3815. Email geomuseum@mines.edu or visit mines.edu/museum. The museum can also be found on Facebook by searching for Mines Museum.
Come face to face with the distant past. See treasures formed deep within the earth and objects that traveled through space before reaching our world. Plan a visit to the Mines Museum of Earth Science, where every specimen has a story and every visit offers something new to discover.
Throughout America's history, countless ordinary men and women have quietly strengthened their families, their communities, our nation, and sometimes even the world. Most never expected to become famous. They simply devoted themselves to serving others with the gifts they had been given. Their stories remind us that history is often shaped by people whose names we rarely hear. Welcome to the Quiet Heroes.
In 1944, a lanky young scientist stepped into the bone-dry wheat fields of Mexico wearing a sweat-stained shirt and carrying more determination than reputation. Many believed the effort was hopeless. The soil was exhausted. Stem rust disease was destroying crops. Farmers were struggling. Experts warned that nothing could be done. He ignored them. For years, he worked 12-hour days, 7 days a week, crossing thousands of wheat plants by hand, searching for varieties that could resist disease and produce larger harvests. Then, something remarkable happened. His wheat began producing 3 and 4 times the previous harvest. The impossible became possible. A few years later, India and Pakistan stood on the brink of catastrophic famine. Millions faced hunger. They desperately needed help. He sent seed. Then he went himself. He worked alongside local scientists, teaching, encouraging, experimenting, never seeking attention, only solutions. The harvests flourished. Famine retreated. More than 1 billion lives would ultimately be touched by his work. Yet the man responsible never sought recognition. He lived simply. He preferred the fields to the spotlight. When awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1970, he accepted it with characteristic humility, saying, "It belongs to the team." Then he went back to work. His name was Norman Borlaug. The world called what he began the Green Revolution. He simply called it necessary work. Norman Borlaug probably never imagined that history would remember his name. He simply saw a problem, used the gifts he had been given, and dedicated his life to helping others. History is often made that way, not by people seeking recognition, but by ordinary people quietly serving with perseverance, humility, and excellence. Perhaps that's why stories like Norman Borlaug's still matter. They remind us that one life, faithfully lived in service to others, can enrich families, strengthen communities, bless a nation, and sometimes even change the world.
This has been The Quiet Heroes. What gifts have you been given that might one day become someone else's blessing?
Hi, I'm Dwayne Coates, the administrator for the LaPointe Krebs House and Museum, and I'm thrilled to be joining the chaos on the Preservation Oaks podcast. Don't miss it.
This is Ben Terwilliger, the executive director of the Eudora Area Historical Society and Museum located in Eudora, Kansas. And I love listening to Sean Thomas Radcliff on Microstream Radio.
Hey there, this is Anthony Greco, director of exhibits at the Buffalo History Museum. If you want to geek out on history and have a blast, tune in to Preservation Oaks with Sean Radcliff.
And now, here's a little nugget for you. Historical societies and museums are the keepers of our collective memory. Every artifact tells a story. Every story shapes our understanding. Visit your local historical society or museum and be part of this ongoing narrative.
And now, back to Preservation Oaks.
Welcome back to Preservation Oaks. I'm your host, Sean Radcliff, and we're here today with Executive Director Renata Lafler from the Mines Museum of Earth Science. Man, I'm learning a lot. Thank you for being with us, Renata, and welcome back.
Thank you so much.
Renata, something you mentioned before intrigued me. The Miss Colorado crown? What are you doing with that? What's that all about?
Well, actually, Sean, this is one of our most popular items on exhibit. It was donated in 2019 by the Rocky Mountain Jewelers Association. And I've heard rumors that the folks over at Denver Museum of Nature and Science are a little jealous that we got it. So I will tell you the story. Many people are familiar with the Miss America pageant. And of course, in order to go to Miss America, you have to compete in your state pageant. And so, like all the other states, Colorado has a Miss Colorado pageant.
Right.
And this pageant's been going on for quite a while. And back in 1972, so way back in the early days of the pageant, there was a group of jewelers led by Leonard Mohlberg. He was a Denver-based jeweler and craftsman. And he thought that the crowns, quite frankly, were a little bit lame. They were base metal crowns with colorless crystals. And he thought that our Miss Colorado deserved something really, really special.
Oh, yeah.
And so he got together with a bunch of his jeweler friends, and they collaborated on this project. And it took them almost a year to get it completed. And the result is this beautiful crown that's made out of 14 karat gold, weighs over half a pound, took more than 400 man hours to create, has over 613 gemstones in it.
Wow.
And was all handmade. So they did not this is all done by hand. All this labor was done by hand. And what's really interesting is they designed the crown so that it contained symbols that represented Colorado. So we have mountains, so snowy peaked mountains and blue gemstone streams running down from it.
Oh, cool.
There are purple amethyst columbine flowers, which is the state flower of Colorado. The leaves of the columbines are made out of emerald. The centers of the columbine flowers are diamonds. And then there's gorgeous multicolored fall tone, I guess you would call them, like oranges and browns and greens and yellows for aspen leaves that run around the edges. And then for the slightly less glamorous parts of Colorado that are mostly flat, they also included wheat sheaves. And this thing is incredible. And so it was worn in 1973 by Rebecca Ann King, who was the first Miss Colorado to wear it. And then she went on the same year to win Miss America.
Oh,
so it must have been like a good luck charm or something.
yeah, very cool.
Yeah. And so it had been on exhibit at the museum for quite a long time. And when the Rocky Mountain Jewelers Association disbanded in 2019, they donated it to the museum. But what's really cool about our crown is that it is checked out annually for the pageant. So every year, Miss Colorado actually gets to wear the crown and she gets to get her photo taken with it. And then when she comes to our Halloween event, she also wears the crown. And all the kids line up and they get to take a photo with her, and the crown is out and actually on her head. And it's quite a fantastic sort of thing.
Oh, that's beautiful and expensive. Wow.
Yes, yes, yes. We're very proud of our crown.
Is there a picture of it online that people can see?
Yes.
Oh, very
And
cool.
also on our brochure. So if you ever get a copy of our brochure, we're going to try to put a digital version of our brochure on the website. Then you'll be able to see it there too. And even if you just Google it, honestly, the Miss Colorados, even when they take to social media, they are very proud of their crown.
Oh, yeah, I imagine so. Oh, that's
Yes.
quite an honor. That's great. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. Wow.
Absolutely.
Now, how is your organization funded and what are your financial goals for the current year?
Sure. So, as a university museum, the building and utilities and all of the basic necessities, that's taken care of by the university because we are a department on campus. And then we have 3 staff members. 2 of the salaries are contributed by the university, along with a sort of stipend for student workers' hourly wages. And then we raise basically either through revenue, which is store sales, museum store sales, or fundraising, any other money we need. That includes all of the money we need for the curator position. So that is fully funded by the museum on its own.
Cool.
And then anything extra. So any project, any purchases of specimens that we want for the collection, any kind of improvements we need to make, we have to either fundraise or earn that money ourselves.
Wow. And do you do event rentals or any of that stuff?
We do. We do private event rentals. We do guided tours for fees. Yeah. And so we've actually, believe it or not, have done a couple weddings here.
Oh, cool. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very small venue, but if you're looking for an intimate affair to a backdrop of crystals, you should definitely consider Mines Museum.
Wow. Yeah, you should. Now, if I'm a bride and I want to have my wedding at the museum, do I get to wear the crown?
Well, Sean, I feel like I can't tell you that.
Okay.
It's a great question, though. Every bride wants to feel like a princess.
Oh, yeah, you bet. What fundraising activities or opportunities are available to support your organization's mission?
So we currently have a donation bot, a page that's live on our website. So we accept donations of any amount through the website, or you can contact me directly for example, large donations. If you are not capable of making a financial donation, but you have really incredible rocks, we would still love to hear from you. So you can send us an email inquiry and we can take a look at that as well. And I think one of the most important, honestly, one of the most important ways we can be served outside of financial donations is with people's time. So if you're local and you have time that you can contribute, help us volunteer, we very much appreciate it. We have 60 volunteers currently doing a wide variety of work for us, including work in collections and outreach. And that is just an incredible gift to the museum.
I think that's the most marvelous thing to be able to volunteer at that museum. Oh my gosh, what you would learn and what you would see. Wow.
Yeah. And the
Amazing.
people are so passionate, really. Our volunteers are incredible. They really are the foundation of what it is that we do here. They love to be here. They're glad to be here. They love the work. They love the mission. And so it's been pretty amazing.
Yeah, very cool. Does somebody have to go around and dust all the minerals from time to time?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
all right.
and I gotta tell you, minerals just have a way of attracting dust. It is a delicate procedure. Even the cases themselves require dusting.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm sure we don't do it frequently enough because it's a lot of work, but I would say once annually is like the minimum. And then of course, anytime we change out an exhibit, we're cleaning. We're doing a lot of cleaning. I think the maddening part is it's like inevitably you clean it. And then as soon as you put the glass back on, there's like a whiff of air and there's just like brand new dust.
Oh, yeah.
If
Wow,
anyone
yeah.
has technology that solves the dust issue, I want to hear from them.
How does your organization engage in community outreach and public educational programs?
So at the museum, outreach is a primary focus, and we try to offer a variety of programs that people can participate in depending on what it is that they're interested in. So we do have resources available if you're here locally in the Denver metro area. You can come to the museum and pick up a teaching kit, for example. So we have mineral and rock cycle teaching kits, and we are developing fossil teaching kits.
Oh,
And
cool.
those are free on loan, just like if you were to check them out from a library, you would take them for 2 weeks and you could use our samples and our testing materials. And we also have online educational like supplements that go with it. So that's one resource. And we offer guided trips to the school, so field trips
Nice.
and guided tour options for a fee for the general public if they schedule in advance. And we do both just the tours, or you can book a tour and a hands-on learning activity. So oftentimes we get large groups of school kids and we split them in half because the museum is very small. And so one half will go on a tour and the other half will get the hands-on activity. One of our favorites is called Spot the Fake, where we make the kids act as a curator would act, and they're intaking a bunch of specimens and they have to decide if they're real or not through observation.
Cool, cool.
They get pretty excited about those things. We pick tricky stuff, to make them really think. And then, of course, we offer other kinds of outreach. So we do classes and lectures. I often will offer a gemstone identification workshop that will teach people different tools of the trade. We do offer lectures on Colorado geology, for example. We've done that very frequently in the past. We offer, like I said, Spooktacular, which is our big Halloween science themed trick or treat event. And then we try to rotate sort of fun things. This is our ops manager, Samara. She's incredibly gifted as an entrepreneur and she's super creative. And so she comes up with things like, make a geode resin charcuterie board as a date night and sip on some wine. And so there will be different things like that that may be fee based, where you can come to the museum, have this incredible backdrop, and do some kind of interesting activity or craft and remind yourself why rocks are so amazing.
Wow. What a wonderful resource for the Golden Area to have. That's just great. Now, do you publish a newsletter? And if so, how can people subscribe to it?
Yes, we do. We offer a digital newsletter biannually. It's usually a summer edition and then a winter edition. And if you go to our main website, which is mines.edu/museum, there is a subscribe button. And then if you go to our resources tab, all of our past newsletters are also there. We will send, if you subscribe to that, we will send you event reminders. We have sales, for example, rock and mineral sales at least twice a year as well. And so you'll get all of our event reminders too.
Fantastic. Now, you mentioned volunteers earlier, the number of volunteers and the types of things that volunteers do. We've talked about that. How does somebody actually volunteer? How do they get involved? Is it through the website?
Yes. So we have a lot of people who get involved with museum because they've come here, right? And they've seen it and they've fallen in love and they live nearby. We've also had word of mouth recommendations. But if you're a listener and you're interested in volunteering, there is an email online. It's our general email inquiry, which is GEO Museum. So GEO Museum at minds.edu. And there is going to be a little form that will be forwarded to you, and you can fill out some of your interests, your background, and then we'll be happy to onboard you and show you all the amazing things you can be doing here.
Fantastic. Now, listeners, I'd like to provide you with the contact information for the museum and university. Now, the Mines Museum of Earth Science is part of the Colorado School of Mines, which is an internationally recognized public research university in Golden, Colorado. To learn more about the Colorado School of Mines, visit mines.edu. The school's main campus is located at 1500 Illinois Street in Golden, Colorado, 80401. You can call them at 303-273-3000 or toll free at 800-446-9488. And you can email them at mines.edu or find the school on Facebook by searching for Colorado School of Mines. To contact or plan a visit to the Mines Museum of Earth Science, which is free admission, by the way, please visit mines.edu/museum. The museum is located at 1310 Maple Street in Golden, Colorado, 80401. You can call the museum directly at 303-273-3815, or you can email them at geomuseum@mines.edu. And you can also find them on Facebook by searching for Mines Museum. Now, Renata, what features or resources can visitors explore on your organization's website?
So currently, the only additional resources we have are newsletters and then past articles. And so we have a few volunteers whose specialty is, history and writing. And so they've done a lot of articles on certain collections in our museum. But eventually, the eventual long-term goal is that you will eventually be able to search our collections online, complete with photos. It's just quite a project since we've never digitized before. It's gonna be quite a project.
Fantastic. That's great that you're doing that. You mentioned people donating and the fact that you wanted people to donate specifically to the campaign for expansion of the museum or finding a new home. I
Yeah.
believe that's how you put it.
Yes.
So, can people donate right off the website?
They sure can. Yep, you sure can. As soon as you go on to the website, there's a donate button and it will redirect you to a page which is our university foundation. They are our fundraisers and they will collect your donation there. You can also reach out to me directly if it's a large financial contribution that you'd like to make, and I'm happy to help you from there.
Okay, great. Thank you. Now you mentioned the expansion, and that's one of the projects, the expansion campaign, I should say, and that's one of the projects that you're interested in doing. Are there any other projects that you need community support to get behind?
I think the digitization and the creation of a new mineral database is also on the list. I think the ways that the community can help, again, donations always help us pay for subscription fees, right? All of those kinds of things. But also, if you are a data entry guru and you're interested in maybe helping us transfer some of this information over, we would love your help as a volunteer.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Is there any other additional message or important information you'd like to share with the community?
We are commonly referred to as the hidden gem of Golden. And I would really love it if we weren't a hidden gem anymore. And so I would just ask anyone listening, if you're in town or know someone who's going to be in town, please just recommend that they pop in. There's no risk to you, it's free admission, and your visitorship directly supports our ability to continue doing what we're doing.
Fantastic. How far away is Golden from Denver?
Oh, it's about 20 minutes. It's not too bad at all.
Well,
I
there you
mean,
go.
depending on traffic, mind you.
So you could pop into any of the ski resorts or any of the area of Denver, and you can get to Golden and see this fabulous resource, this museum, anytime.
That's right. We're open 7 days a week.
Fantastic. And it's free admission. How does your organization measure the impact you have on visitors and the community? Do you use some form of management or metrics framework?
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. So this is a really interesting question because I'm a scientist, but I'm very like business data minded. And so I will say this, we've tried a couple of things. So one, when you're free admission, it's challenging because we cannot collect customer data on tickets.
Right.
That's problematic. So when I came here I started in 2018. When I came in 2019, we did a, believe it or not, pen and paper survey and collected visitor demographic that way. So we started in 2019. Then this year we actually paid to participate in the American Alliance of Museums museum goers survey. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this one.
No.
But we paid because a third-party consultant called Wilkening, they collaborated with AAM, and so they created the survey questions. We paid to participate, and then I sent it out to our 1,000+ subscriber list. And so we got some demographic information from that. And then I will say we collect testimonials. I hate AI. I don't know why. It's I just really hate it. But I did use AI to create a summary of our Google reviews once.
Yeah.
And asked AI to tell us which exhibits were most frequently mentioned in
that's
those
very
reviews.
Cool. That's very cool.
Yep. So that was a new trick that I've tried out. And then we keep sort of lots of data spreadsheets that collects information like how many outreach contact hours, how many people attend the variety of outreach programs we offer. And then you'll see other data points. If you go onto the website and look at the annual reports, we put out volunteer hours, and then we do a calculation for what's that dollar amount attributed to, how much is it worth, all those things, right? And then we try to keep an eye on them annually. It's just, like I said, it's hard. If we had a ticketing system, I think our information would be a little more accurate. But right now, we're just counting on the person at the front to be doing it accurately.
Yeah. Do you make people show you an ID as they come into the museum in case they wreck something, or who knows, right?
We don't, but we have pretty intense security here. We have a lot of cameras that are always recording, and then our campus police department is literally right across the street from us. So they're
no,
right
I asked
there.
the question because then you'd know, where they're from at least. And I've had a couple of museums who have had to justify their existence and their funding with the cities that provide funding to them. And so what they do is they say, here's our tourist impact.
Yeah.
And they try to collect people from out of state so that they can show clearly, we're bringing in this many dollars because here's these tourists, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we keep track of all of our revenue streams, but we are not tracking state demographics. Again, I think in the future, if we ever move to an admission-based program, we might be able to get a better idea.
Right.
But so far, I mean, we still collect a lot of good information. The library uses this unique tool that tells people, it can tell you live, how many people are in a certain place in the library.
Really?
It uses cameras and then does some kind of calculation, I guess. And so that might be an interesting thing to try to implement to see which exhibits are most popular, how much time are people spending. But again, these things are sophisticated and sometimes expensive.
Yeah.
And so I think we're just doing the grassroots data collection right now.
Renata, thank you for spending time with us today. I've learned so much, had a great time. I'm glad to meet you, very glad to meet you. It's truly been inspiring how much you and the museum contribute to Colorado and the nation.
Thank you so much, Don, for having me.
You're welcome. And with that, we'll end our time with our guest, Executive Director Renata Lafler. Listeners, please stay tuned for my comments and wrap-up, which is coming up next. Well, listeners, what a remarkable journey we've taken today. From Colorado's mining towns to distant space, and from a second-grade classroom to one of the nation's most extraordinary earth science collections. Our guest has been Executive Director Renata Lafler from the Mines Museum of Earth Science at the Colorado School of Mines in Golden. I want to thank Renata for giving us such a generous and accessible introduction to earth science, crystals, minerals, fossils, meteorites, and mining. Renata is a geologist, professional gemologist, educator, and fellow of the Gemological Association of Great Britain. But what impressed me most wasn't just her credentials. It was how she used that knowledge to welcome us into a subject that can seem complicated or unfamiliar. She has the rare ability to explain something scientifically without removing the wonder from it. When she described minerals as Mother Nature's beautiful little puzzles, She gave us a way to picture something that might otherwise remain abstract. Her enthusiasm comes from a genuine sense of awe at the variety, color, symmetry, rarity, and history contained in the earth beneath our feet. That certainty came through in our discussion on rhodochrosite, Colorado's state mineral. Renata described its brilliant red color, rarity, and the enormous skill required to cut it into a gemstone without breaking it. The museum even has a necklace made from rhodochrosite from Colorado's famous Sweet Home mine. We also learned that our attraction to rocks and minerals may be one of the most ancient human impulses imaginable. Children collect rocks. Adults remember their childhood collections. People have carried unusual stones from one place to another since prehistoric times. Renata reminded us that we don't merely observe beauty. We want to hold it, feel it, keep it, and understand how it came to be. Renata's own story exemplifies this. She grew up in the relatively flat landscape around Chicago, which might not seem the obvious birthplace for a geologist. Then in second grade, she won a game of bingo at her Catholic school. Her teacher, Sister Joanne, had the usual prizes, but Renata noticed a plain box of rocks gathered during a trip to Germany. She didn't choose an eraser or a pencil. She asked for the rocks. Sister Joanne gave them to her. Renata took them home, spread them out, held them in her hands, and fell in love with them. From there came trips to caves, a high school geology class, degrees in geology and earth sciences, work in gemology and education study in places like New Zealand and Sardinia, and ultimately, her leadership of this museum. What began with a teacher's generosity and a child's curiosity became a life devoted to science and public education. That story matters because the Mines Museum is creating those same moments for other children today. Renata told us about students at the Colorado School of Mines who first visited the museum on a childhood field trip. Years later, when choosing a university, they remembered that feeling of discovery and chose Mines because the museum had helped awaken their interest. Then there was the little girl in the future geologist shirt. Renata had removed her name badge and was helping at the front desk. This is a small museum with a 3-person staff where everyone rolls up their sleeves. The girl completed the scavenger hunt, found the 6 little burrow mascots hidden throughout the museum, and received a free rock as her prize. She was absolutely delighted. Then she told Renata that she wanted to become a geologist and asked how she could someday have a job just like Renata's. That's the kind of accomplishment that can't be measured only by attendance totals or spreadsheets. As Renata said, that builds the future right there. The Mines Museum has been building that future for more than 150 years. Its roots reach to 1874, before Colorado was even a state, when Arthur Lakes began gathering rocks, minerals, and fossils for students at the Territorial School of Mines. Today it contains approximately 45,000 rocks, minerals, specimens, and related objects. Only about 3,000 can be displayed at any one time, but the museum rotates exhibits regularly, so returning visitors have something new to discover. Its greatest distinction is especially impressive. The Mines Museum holds the world's largest and most comprehensive publicly exhibited collection of Colorado minerals. Visitors can also explore outstanding gold and silver specimens, gemstones, fluorescent minerals, fossils, dinosaur material, meteorites, and even moon rocks. There's a reproduction mine where visitors may turn a corner and suddenly hear children squeal with delight at the glowing minerals. Among the museum's most astonishing objects is the Murchison meteorite, on loan from the Field Museum in Chicago. It contains water, organic compounds, pre-solar stardust older than our solar system, and more than 70 amino acids, the building blocks associated with life. The museum also cares for 2 moon rocks. including one displayed in a nitrogen-filled chamber, along with delicate crystallized gold specimens whose scientific and historical value goes far beyond their weight in gold. And then there's the magnificent Miss Colorado crown. Created by Colorado jewelers, it's made from 14-karat gold, weighs more than half a pound, contains more than 613 gemstones, and required more than 400 hours of hand craftsmanship. Its mountains, streams, columbines, emerald leaves, diamond flower centers, aspen colors, and wheat sheaves tell the story of Colorado in precious materials. Remarkably, it's not merely a static artifact. It's still worn each year by Miss Colorado, connecting the museum's preservation work with a living tradition. The museum's accomplishments extend well beyond its display cases. This is an outreach-centered institution. It offers school tours, guided visits, hands-on activities, lectures, gemstone identification workshops, and free teaching kits on minerals and the rock cycle. These are not the accomplishments of a large institution with an enormous staff. They are the achievements of 3 staff members, student employees, and approximately 60 devoted volunteers. And that brings us to what the Mines Museum needs from the community. First, it needs room to grow. The current facility is approximately 15,000 square feet, with about 5,000 square feet devoted to storage. The museum dreams of expanding its present building or securing a new home where it can tell the story of Colorado geology more completely. Second, it needs long-term financial stability. The Colorado School of Mines provides the building, utilities, 2 staff salaries, and support for student workers. However, the museum must generate or raise funds for its curator, collection purchases, exhibit improvements, special projects, equipment, subscriptions, and other needs. Endowment support could help sustain essential staff positions in perpetuity. Third, the museum needs help digitizing its collection and creating a searchable mineral database with photographs. Financial contributions can support the software systems and other expenses involved. Volunteers with data entry, collections, historical research, writing, education, or outreach skills can contribute their time and ability. Fourth, the museum needs visitors and ambassadors. It's often called the hidden gem of Golden, but Renata would love for it to not remain hidden. Admission is free. The museum is open 7 days a week, and parking is free on weekends. Simply visiting, bringing your family, telling a teacher, recommending it to a traveler, sharing its programs, or encouraging someone else to stop by helps demonstrate that this collection matters. If you're able to make a financial gift, there's a donate button on the museum's website. And if you live in the Golden or Denver area and would like to volunteer, contact the museum and tell them about your interests and experience. The Mines Museum of Earth Science is part of the Colorado School of Mines, an internationally recognized public research university in Golden, and the #1 mineral and mining university in the world. To contact the Mines Museum of Earth Science or plan your free visit, go to mines.edu/museum. The museum is located at 1310 Maple Street in Golden, Colorado, 80401, and you can call them at 303-273-3815 or email geomuseum@mines.edu. You can also find the museum on Facebook by searching for Mines Museum. Before we close, I want to return to that box of rocks on Sister Joanne's desk. She couldn't have known exactly what would follow when she gave those stones to a second-grade girl. She couldn't have foreseen the degrees, the international travel, the gemstone research, the books, the teaching, or the museum leadership. She simply recognized a child's curiosity and placed something wonderful into her hands. And that's what a museum does at its very best. It places something real before us, something old, beautiful, strange, or easily overlooked, and gives curiosity a place to begin. Renata Lafler understands that mission, and the Mines Museum lives it every day. Renata, I'd like to thank you again for sharing your expertise, enthusiasm, and personal story with us. You're a wonderful resource, and the museum, the Colorado School of Mines, the people of Golden, and all who care about science and education are fortunate to have your leadership. Listeners, I hope today's conversation has encouraged you to look a little more closely at the earth beneath your feet and at the objects you may have once collected as a child. If your travels bring you anywhere near Golden or the Denver area, please make time for the Mines Museum. I'd like to thank you all for joining us for another episode of Preservation Oaks and for supporting the museums, universities, historical organizations, volunteers, educators, and preservation professionals who protect the evidence of our shared world. Something of note, today's episode is our next to last of Season 5. In our Season 5 finale, we'll be traveling to Lafayette, Colorado, where we'll visit with Lafayette History Museum and welcome Museum Director Chelsea Pennington Hahn to the program. All right, that's a wrap for this episode. Music used today is from Cymbalbird, Loops Lab, Saturn Music, Alec Koff, Trigubovich, Fat Bunny, and Premium Beat. Hey, this is Sean Radcliff. See you all next time on Preservation Oaks. And until then, keep on giving and keep on living the good life.
You can visit at www.microstreamradio.com. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted by Microstream Radio. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, reproduced, copied, or used anywhere without the written permission of Microstream Radio. Preservation Oaks starring Sean Radcliff originates in Salt Lake City, Utah. Be sure to join us for our next episode on your favorite podcast platform. This is Thaddeus Dillon speaking. Preservation Oaks has come to you through the worldwide podcast platform Podbean, and our home is preservationoaks.podbean.com. Hopefully you found today's episode useful, informative, and thought-provoking. If so, please like, follow, comment, and/or subscribe. Remember that being free means being free to be curious, and that historical and genealogical societies and museums allow us to discover the past, be free to explore, where curiosity opens every door. Thanks to everyone for listening. Stay cozy, curious, and keep exploring the incredible stories that shape our world. Remember to cherish and support the preservation of history in your own communities. The content of this program is provided for educational and informational purposes only. Some material included in this program may be copyrighted by third parties. However, under Section 107 of the U.S. Copyright Act, the doctrine of fair use allows the limited use of copyrighted material without requiring permission from the rights holders when used for purposes such as education, criticism, commentary, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. These uses are legally permitted even if they might otherwise constitute infringement. If you wish to use copyrighted material from this program for purposes beyond fair use, you must obtain permission from the copyright owner. If you believe your copyrighted material has been used in this program in a way that does not qualify as fair use,